I was almost about to throw my hands up in the air and give up. I was just really frustrated. I had went into my hard drive and deleted everything.
Today we have here Jhion. Jhion is one of our students, and he will be also releasing on the next Dacru VA. And we wanted to have a little chat about his experience. Welcome, Jhion.
Hey, welcome. Thanks for having me.
Let's go straight into that. So, how do you feel like with your first release now?
Yeah, it's exciting. Maybe a little bit beside myself that I've finally reached a goal I set. I guess it's been a long journey. Excited to see it come out and share it with my friends and my family. Already working on the next song. I guess that's part of the tragedy of being a producer. You just put your art out there and move on to the next one. So yeah, but it's I didn't expect to be making a label being released like this. I figured it was, so it's a real big step that happened fast here. So yeah.
That's pretty amazing actually. I checked yesterday, like there's like this website BeatStats, which kind of like tracks the Beatport sales, and Dacru is actually numbers label top 6 label at the moment. So it's kind of like it's a really good one. I mean, I always knew it was good, but it kind of like moved up the ladder a bit. Pretty good start, I would say. How did you get there? I mean, so what was the transformation in your music and your workflow over the last months?
Oh, wow. Yeah. Before I met you, I was banging my head against the wall, trying to make music. I was solely relying on being self-taught. I have a little bit of a background in music. Playing drums and being in bands through my teenage years and my even almost up to 30 years old. And then life kind of changed, and trying to commit that much time to a big group thing, and everybody, I'm the drummer, so everybody had to come to my house, and I started to want to do something on my own, and that's what led me to trying to make dance music, basically. I didn't have any teacher, anyone around me doing it. And I met a guy through work who showed me Ableton, and I just went and got it and went at it. And so here I am trying to listen to songs and recreate them, which is kind of how I learned how to play drums. You listen to CDs and and try to just copy it. And yeah, like I said, I was banging my head against the wall because I was relying on what I could listen to and try to recreate, learning the software on my own. But what I found out with YouTube was you hit a wall. There's a lot of people out there giving away a little bit of information, and I would say they're pulling punches. You're like, oh wow, well wait, you just skipped over a really big part. How did you do that? And I had went into my hard drive and deleted everything I had made for 2 years. Like it was maybe even longer, 4 years worth of music. 19, I was messing around with a drum machine and some synthesizers I had from way back in the 90s. And I had started to try and make minimal techno. And I was having better success with that. It just seemed simpler, but probably if I found someone like you that was teaching a deep dive, I probably didn't know anything. So anyway, yeah, banging my head against the wall, and I decided to just do a deep internet search, and I found you, and it changed everything. Yeah, I was able to realize immediately, wow, there's a lot more structure and expectation to a genre of music than I was giving it. So yeah, before I was almost about to throw my hands up in the air and give up. I was just really frustrated. And here in the US, I had never really heard of Psytrance. I had stumbled into it. A book I bought mentioned a producer, and it led me to his music. And I went, oh, wow, this is what I want to make. This is what's in my head, I feel like. And so, yeah, I was really way on the outside of it. And when I met you, I did not even understand their subgenres, there any of this stuff. So I've just been trying to keep up and just gobbling up all this information the best I can.
I can totally share your story. I think everybody started a bit like this, like digging into YouTube tutorials and then getting completely like lost because as you mentioned, if you, for example, like different subgenres, it can be like also quite toxic. Like let's say if you watch a bass tutorial from a forest guy and then you watch whatever melody tutorial from a full-on guy and then suddenly you try to assemble all of these bits which don't really belong together, and it can also kind of like ruin sometimes then the stuff. And I was also at the point where I wanted to give up and I was looking for mentors, but not everybody who's good is also a good teacher, and it was quite a struggle. It's totally the thing, like if you're in your music journey at the beginning, you're like super motivated, you start with something and everything is fun, but then comes like this huge frustration point where you realize that everything else what is out there sounds so much better than yours, and then you want to go deeper and you kind of like hit the wall.
Yeah, and I guess the passion kept me going. I was just like, yeah, okay. I was frustrated for a few months and messing with the minimal techno, and then yeah, I said I've got to go back to I've got to figure this out. It's been amazing ever since. Yeah, it's like I'm able to have the beginning of a craft now, and be able to, okay, I've got this idea in my head. Here's a foundation. I want to be able to make a song from the beginning to the end. What does it take? And that recipe.
Yeah, I always see it like that with the program. We're kind of like unleashing the creativity of so many people, because from the outside, it may sometimes like look like, yeah, you learn a structure or something, and then everybody will sound the same in the end, and that's so not true. I mean, it's just you get tools, and with the tools, you're gonna make what's in your head and bring it alive, and that's really like nice for us actually to see. I mean, when we listen through all the releases which we send to the label, how different they are. Kind of like everybody has completely like their own music. It was really nice. So, for example, you have really nice melodies, and I really enjoyed the track. It has a good vibe and everything.
Yeah, well, that's thanks to you too. I just came back from vacation and worked on melodies every morning while we go to the beach, and we're by the beach and everybody sleeps in, but I'm up early, laptop, headphones, and yeah, I was able to focus on just starting out. Okay, here's a basic concept of how to lay out a melody, and then let's tweak it and spend more time on less melodies is what I felt like, and I was just able to move right forward, no frustration, no. And I wasn't sitting there. Maybe I screamed at my computer a couple times, but with it just the kick and bass never sounded right. I'm like, but then the first time I worked with you, you're like, okay, well, yeah, you can't use a sample like this. It's like, oh wow. I mean, it was just to be able to sit there and write these melodies and start. The second track is just flowing so much easier because I have that concept in my head. But yes, when it comes to being creative, it hasn't stifled me at all. It's opened me wide open. Yeah. And then I love themes, and I like that about Psytrance. The real heavy themes, I love it, because that's the music I was making when I was in bands, is something that I don't want to say political, but it just something that was, with our generation, and you could just connect with people and it. So yeah, it's just a great combination for me of what I want to do with my creativity and the style of music that I am pursuing.
I read one time like that an artist is always like projecting his personality into the artwork. So whenever he does art is also a piece of himself later.
Absolutely. That's.
What have been your biggest learnings?
I feel like I almost knew nothing, except for, hey, I can hear that and rhythmically divide that up. And I feel like I had some stronger points already. And those are the parts I want to get to fast, like arrangement. I feel like I'm really good at arrangement because even though I didn't know everything, I'm used to being in bands and saying, hey, wait, let's stop here. I like that part. Let's double that part, or let's cut that short and put a little fill right there and stuff like that. But melodies were really a big learning experience. And I got to work with, Cosmic Sidekick on that. And that was amazing because he really came across as really knowing a lot about music theory, and a light bulb moment with him where he just said, he saw what I was doing and said, no, this is here. Just look what I do from start to finish. And I went, oh man, there it is. And so melodies were a huge step for me. And then arrangement, I mean, I've learned so much. I spent a lot of extra time on it, but I had more to say just holding my hand through it. And how a dance song goes, it's not like a rock and roll song. It's not chorus, verse, chorus, verse. It's this flow, your energy has to come up and down and up and down. And so I learned a lot there. I mean, everything I've learned, and I'm going back relearning a lot of it and making sure, and developing my own way through it too. I'm realizing too, like, oh, okay, I only like to make maybe a dozen really good melodies, and so yeah, mixing. I can't think of one thing I didn't learn so much, but yeah, melodies and arrangement really set some things in me, a lot of confidence of like, oh, I guess you could be guessing at those, but even the foundation, kick and bass, it just starting there, it's just been amazing, every bit of it. Along with some technical stuff along the way, you guys have just helped so much with, just it's that I would have never figured out. I probably would have unplugged the computer. So yeah, you guys, it's something not even mentioned in the premise of the course that you're gonna, you guys are there almost 24/7. I think we all respect each other's time, and if you can't answer right away, but yeah, but anyway, yeah, you guys you've held to your word on everything and beyond, especially with, I mean, getting to the label. It's just, I'm, just like I said, I'm beside myself and I'm able to tell people, hey, now my song's going to a label. They're like, what? And, and I was like, yeah. So but yeah, back to the learning. It just, I'm just still learning. I'm back. I'm learning so much. And there's so much information still in the videos, and everyone else's feedback and questions and answers. It's everything I was looking for. Just like, hey, and I like to learn, and I like to be good at my hobbies and my trades, and the only way I ever got good at anything was someone who was good had to teach me, and that's. So yeah, you guys really provide that.
Yeah, I think it's like a catalyst, like an accelerator thing. So definitely you could learn everything if you dig deep enough in the internet and like practice for like 10 years or something. But it's so much faster. At least it was for me. It was the same. If somebody just takes you on the hand and says, okay, you did this, but it might be better if you do it like this, try it like that way. And
Right.
you might have not even seen the way before. It's a little bit like if you're going through like a labyrinth on your own, or with somebody who has like a map and knows exactly where to get out.
Yeah, and I mean, my experience is even, yes, the possibility you can figure it out on your own, but I'm a tradesman by, my profession, and I basically I render, like you guys might call it gyprock or plastering, and I'm 27 years into that, and you meet people that no one ever taught them anything, and they still are guessing at it. So I had someone there 2 generations in, my family did it, saying, no, use this tool, stand like this. you need the temperature in the room, like all these things that you could guess at for the rest of your life, and you still might not. This person might go, here, do it, like, and you went, wow. And that's kind of what happened when I met you and started, getting feedback and stuff. Was just like, oh wow, I had no clue what I was doing. So yeah, the possibilities there, and I don't want to make someone feel like it can't happen, but it just, for me, I don't feel like it would have happened. And so yeah. Anyway, I'm not wanting to kick my computer anymore, and it's been great.
Yeah, and the cool thing I think with a skill is also you keep it, you know. Everything else you buy, like you buy a car or something, and it just like deteriorates over time. But a skill, I think it gets never like worse. Maybe if you're 90 years old and you get like hearing problem and everything, but let's say you know how to make music, then you will know how to make music in 5 years as well, or in 10 years as well, even if you stop doing it. And that's I think is for me it's like the most valuable thing if you can train something you love doing and you get better at it. So I'm totally into this. I don't know if you have read this like book Mastery from I
Yeah,
think Robert Greene.
yeah.
It's a really good book.
I think I had mentioned it was next on my list. I have all his books, but yeah, Mastery. I started with 48 Laws of Power
Mhm.
way back when I was, I don't know, 21 or 22, and it changed my life. I've always been driven and up early, and like I said, I worked in trades, and that type of ethic shines through, that you're there and you're working, and yes, show me, I want to learn from you, I want to learn from you. And but yeah, his books help me with the strategy of life. So yeah, I haven't cracked mastery yet. It's next, and actually, I was at the same time. He has a little book he did with 50 Cent called the 50th. I think it's called the 50th Law, because he had 48 laws of power, and it's about fear, and it's about kind of not being fearful of trying things, and so yeah, his gave that to us too. Hey, check this out, here's a little slogan or something, or a little saying from a book of get and that helped me create my time. To I was getting on the computer at night, and I was getting tired and frustrated, and so yeah, I started getting up really early, and I found that, and it's you helped me think about that, like, where can I get these few hours a day, and at night it wasn't good, I was tired, and I said, I'll just wake up earlier, and hopefully mastery's good. I've got it sitting on the shelf, I'm sure it is. But yeah, he says it takes, and I know the concept of it because I've seen him speak about it, but the earlier you can find your life's purpose is basically what he's saying, and focus your energy towards that. But most people have to kind of have a midlife crisis and go back, well, hey, when I was a kid, I always wanted to build cars, and me, I always want to perform. I like performing for people, and that's one of my main goals too with the music, is just to get in front of people and let people hear and go, wow, wow, this is great. You did this. And so time will tell with that.
Yeah, I also wished I would have started like earlier with music, but then there's this point like sometimes you're still saying to yourself, I wish I had, but it's not too late, you know, there's always a point where you can start, and the earlier you get to this point, if you already know that it's inside you, then I think it's really important to unleash that, because it will just like add up in frustration if you don't do it.
Yeah, I do the same thing. I wanted to go to a school in 1998 that was in Orlando, Florida, Full Sail, and they were teaching how to make digital music, MIDI. I mean, really early stuff, and a couple of my friends went over there. I don't think they had the passion I would have had. But yeah, I did the same thing. I look back and go, what if, what if, what if? And yeah, I think about the time the computers were coming up, I shelved this groove box and this drum machine I had and just put it away. And and waited a solid 25 years to look back into it. So
going back to a little bit like work ethics and all that, what would you say is like the most important thing to get from, like, let's say you start with the course, and to get to the point where you release? Is it like the information, or is it the hours you put in, or is it consistency, or, you know, like what is in your opinion important to get there?
well, the most important would be the time and the drive that one has to put into it. Like I said just a little bit ago, that's what led me back to just, I've got to find a way to figure out how to make these songs. You know, so there was certainly like a drive in me to, you know, gosh, I want to do this. You know, I've gotten frustrated 100 times, and so that I would say is the most important. But without the information, there's a lot of spinning your wheels, you know. And so once that clicked and I found you and started to get the information, it just, I'm trying to gobble it up. I mean, just so much like, oh, wow, give me more. I want more. And there's only so much you can take in, you know. And so that, the information, and then being diligent, and you helped set that out right in the beginning of, hey, just set aside a certain amount of time every day or every couple days, whatever, make something realistic. And then it's going to take time. You have to put in a little bit of time, you know, and for X amount of time, you know, it could be a lot of years. I had a little bit of, you know, I knew the software a little bit before I met you, and, you know, my music background, I think, helped speed some things up. So yeah, those three are really going to propel you. And then along with that diligence of sitting down, sometimes you have to come into the studio when you just like not feeling it. You're like, okay, and the feedback helps that too, of just breaking it down into small pieces. Like, okay, you know what, I'm not feeling very creative today, but I can go in there and let's focus on this technical part. The kicks peak in, there's something clipping, you know, and you get in there, and sometimes a lot magic happens then, or you at least accomplish some small tasks. And learning anything great, it takes time, you know, and it takes patience and information. So yeah, I mean, really, that's it, the drive, the information, and then the dedication, you know. And I don't see why you couldn't accomplish almost anything with that if you really want. So
Yeah, I see the same. Like if you have the drive, then you have the willingness to do it. Then you need to know how to do it, and then you just need to execute and keep going. So to stay on the path, because obviously you cannot reach a goal if you just start the path and then you deviate and go somewhere.
and maybe that wouldn't have happened if we were younger. You know, I had drive, but it was going in a lot of directions. You know, it you know, and so I think learning, getting, you know, older and wiser, yeah, you go, okay, there's certain things I want to do, and I'm going to take my time, and I'm going to read a book, and there's certain things you go, I'm not going to spend my time with that unless I absolutely have to. You know, it's those are key things required, I think, to master anything. You know, and I'm nowhere close to it now. I just have the formula, and it's pro level, but there's so much to keep learning, you know, and so, and I love that, you know. It's because I guess it would get boring too if you just weren't learning something new every day, you know.
Yeah, it makes it interesting actually. For me, it's the same. Like I think there's not something really new coming. It's just a level of detail which is like different. I mean, a beginner kick maybe to an intermediate kick and a pro kick, it's all like a kick. It's all like a sine wave. It's all done the same. It all has like a kick hat. It all has whatever, like a body in the kick. But it's like the little details which make the change then, and there's so much to learn. It's like a rabbit hole. You can zoom endlessly into things. Higher level there on every level of the whole track production.
That's the amazing part about making music with software to me. It's just the options for being creative are just, they're amazing. Where I guess with the guitar and drums, you can learn your scales and your chops and your muscle memory, and people do amazing things. But my life changed, and this is just so perfect to kind of go on a solo mission and introvert even further, and but be able to have just a wonderful result coming out of it.
What would you say to your younger self? So if you could make like a little time travel back and give some advice.
Tell myself not to sell the equipment I had. I sold. I'm realizing now the equipment's useful. It could, but that's just a little, thing. Yeah, I guess we touched on this, and I might go back and encourage myself to go to that school in Orlando. And I daydream about, man, if I could be in a studio working, and yes, my music's like a side thing, and because I've never approached music like I'm going to try to get rich or anything from it. I love creating, and I love people responding to it, and so yeah, I might go back and encourage myself to, hey, go do what your inner passions are telling you to do, and they were. I was just young and naive, and was making good money doing my trade in construction, and I kind of left the dance music world back then too, listening and stuff. I think I would have said, hey, don't stop listening to this and see how it all evolved, because now I'm going back trying to piece things together, and I feel like I missed out a little bit. So yeah, those would be some key things with music. And then stretch. I sat at drum sets for a long time and never stretched and exercised, and my back is it bothers me at the drums now because of all that. So
yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah, I mean, taking care of our bodies is also a really important
man.
thing.
Man, it's
Thank you, Jhion, for being here and sharing your experience. And
yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's
some links for the guys who are interested in your journey down in the description box to follow.
Yeah, please come check me out and follow. I'm just really getting started in that realm. That'd be another thing to remind myself of is, hey, get the social media thing,
it's what all the musicians hate and everybody needs to do.
Yeah, well, I think you get a little bit younger than me, and it's just normal, but it was like just an option of social media, and so, but it's important, and that's how I found you, and that's how I find everything, so all right. Well, thanks,
you.
Andy. Yeah, absolutely.
Bye-bye.
Okay, all right.